funded by the Broadcasting Authority of Ireland with the television licence fee.
You're listening to Programme 2 of the 5-part series Say Yes to Health and No to Drugs. Throughout our modern Ireland, many people and groups are doing Trojan work to help people recover from addiction, whether it be to drugs, drink or whatever, and live addiction-free lives. The 12-step recovery programme was created by Alcoholics Anonymous in the 1930s. Since its inception, the 12 steps has been adapted to all forms of addiction and has helped countless addicts throughout the world to find recovery. To explain what the 12-step recovery programme is about, here's Keith Cassidy, manager of Tabor House Addiction Treatment Centre based in Navan, County Meath.
The 12 steps is really a formal structure on what developed between friends in the United States in the 1930s. It looks at a programme for living without the substance as opposed to the emphasis of not doing something. So it's about enjoying life while you're not drinking or drugging or embarking on gambling or other behaviours. It looks at all areas of somebody's life as well, and it requires them to do a lot of work on themselves as they progress through the steps.
The core essence of the 12-step recovery programme from any addiction is with the person first admitting that they cannot control their addiction or compulsion, then recognising a higher power to give strength, then examining past errors with the help of an experienced sponsor, then making amends for these errors, then learning to live a new life with a new code of behaviour, and finally helping others who suffer from the same addiction or compulsion. Mark Codd, a recovering drug addict and project worker with the Chrysalis Community Drug Project based in Dublin 7.
The 12-step programme is the programme of recovery. So from step 1 to it's all about admitting, accepting, right down to the very bottom. Step 12 is the spiritual awakening. It's like the spiritual awakening of the soul. The steps, it's about freedom. It's about going through the steps with your sponsor step by step. There's a lot of questions attached to step 1 and so forth and so on with all the other steps. But I suppose the programme talks about 3 spiritual principles: honesty, openness and willingness. And if you attach those 3 things to your recovery, to doing the steps, there's a liberation in it, there's a freedom in it. And like there's a lot of stuff in the steps where there's a making amends, you know. A lot of people who've spent a long time in active addiction would have harmed people, would have stolen from them. Stuff like that which you wouldn't do in ordinary life terms, you know. So all that has to be opened up, you know, there has to be honesty around it, there has to be an acceptance around it, and where you can make amends without injuring or harming others in the reality of the present day, you do what you can, you know. So I think for me it's about freedom, you know. I suppose if you want to look at it in biblical terms, they talk about the chains and the shackles and the bondage, you know. So you're releasing them from you, setting you free, you know, so you can go and achieve things, you can go and do things.
As was touched on earlier, the 12-step recovery programme has been adapted to all forms of addiction and is nowadays used by not just AA but also NA, that's Narcotics Anonymous, GA, that's Gamblers Anonymous, and many similar recovery support groups. Here's Ross to talk about how AA and GA helped him find recovery from his addiction to alcohol and gambling.
AA and GA, it's a brilliant fellowship for anyone coming in that feels like they're down and out. It just shows you that there's always light at the end of the tunnel. Getting together and just basically chatting and seeing the similarities in each other's lives, and for me to say to another person, I'm struggling at the moment, and then to say, I've been through the exact same thing, I know where you're coming from, and this is what I did, this is how it helped me. You know, I don't have to take that advice, but it's great that that advice is there for free, exactly, you know. Also, in the A and the GA, you have what's called a sponsor, which is someone that you can go to if you really trust someone that you feel a real good connection with, and you can ask them to take you through the 12-step program. The 12-step program's laid out as it's just a foundation of your recovery, and it's basically 12 steps on how to live your life quite happily. A lot of people would say it's the best way down the route of recovery. I would tend to agree with them, but again, there's other things out there for anybody to try,
It's whatever works, but it's tools for life on a day-by-day journey of recovery that you're never finished with, really. Would it be right?
Exactly, yeah. And just when you mentioned tools for life there, that's quite a common thing that, AA and different rehabilitation centres will give you the tools for life that you need to live a happy, productive life. And it's just really down to yourself whether you use them tools or not, But at the end of the day, there's always groups and groups of people that's there, open-armed, helping you at the end of the phone, in any rooms, 3 days a week, and nearly everywhere in the world, It's a real brilliant fellowship to be a part of.
There's no greater power than a group of alcoholics or a group of recovering drug addicts who are in a room together, all wanting and staying sober.
Keith Cassidy of Tabor House Addiction Treatment Centre, based in Navan, County Meath.
And for me, that is probably one of the highest powers in the world when somebody's coming into recovery.
Nobody can do it on their own, That's why it's the whole thing of helping each other out, you know what I mean? You alone can do it, but you can't do it alone.
No one is ever alone.
It's just brilliant to know that you're not alone.
You can't underestimate the power of the group.
And staying with the topic of the 12 steps, I recently met up with recovering alcoholic John in Dublin city centre.
AA for me, it's a fellowship of men and women who get together, share their experience, strength and hope. It's a 12-step recovery programme. There's different meetings, there's a step meeting, there could be a big book meeting. The steps, how the steps work, you have to have a full understanding of the first step, which is we're powerless over alcohol, our lives have become unmanageable, and then you work down through the steps. There's 12, they go in rotation, so you have to have done the first step before you can do the rest of them.
And to recap, that first step being that the person in question admits that they can't control their addiction or compulsion. For John, this only occurred when he reached rock bottom.
Every individual is different. They have to have reached that rock bottom, and from my own personal experience, I had reached that rock bottom. I became homeless because of my drinking. I lost my family, I lost everything, but through the support of AA and a residential treatment centre, I was able to get my life back together. But it's not just AA that helps, it's actually doing the programme of AA, having a sponsor. It's a suggested programme. It's not with lashes and whips. It's a suggested programme. Each person has to have a grasp of AA and have to have a full understanding, but everyone is different. Everyone is coming from a different background, so for them it's to have reach that rock bottom by taking the steps of the first step of AA and then taking it from there.
John, keep on the sterling work of AA. What range of services does AA provide?
The main support for AA is the 12-step programme. Then outside of AA we have the public information, we have linking in with the professional community. There is our general service office, which is based in Santry, that provides, you can go in and buy big books, you can buy 12 and 12s. There is also a app that AA has you can get it on your iPhone. So it depends on exactly what you're looking for. We're not a counselling service. What we are is a spiritual program for people who are trying to get support and help with their alcohol issues. We provide thousands of meetings a week in Dublin and all parts of Ireland as well. It's not just in Dublin, it's all over. It's divided up into 4 provinces: Leinster, Ulster, Munster and Connacht. So each province would have their intergroup meetings, and they would be bi-monthly, where all the members of AA who are involved in intergroup will get together. So everyone is different depending on what they're looking for. The main support is the 12-step programme and meetings in wherever they want to go. AA for me saved my life. I reached that rock bottom. I lost everything. I lost my family, I lost my home, but most of all I'd lost myself. And with the help of AA, with the help of the 12 steps, with the help of, I think one of the things as well that I didn't touch on earlier on is one of the supports that AA gives us is we would get a sponsor, but then, as I said earlier on, it's a suggested program. They suggest you get a sponsor, but for me, it wasn't just going to meetings, it was putting in the work. But for me, I had to be willing to change. And for me, was doing the work that was suggested by my sponsors, by the people in recovery. And also as well, one of the things I didn't say earlier on was what AA offers is fellowship. You know, a group, no matter if it's 15, it's 20 people, going to a meeting is okay, but having that fellowship afterwards. I've been all over the world. I've been to Sydney, I've been to New York, I've been to London, I've been to Belfast. And everywhere I've been is that sense of fellowship, the sense of people knowing what I'm going through, the sense of fellowship of people understanding where I'm coming from. You know, that's going for a cup of tea with a member afterwards, somebody who's having a hard day, somebody who didn't share the meeting but still needs that support, and going for a cup of coffee and being able to do that. A group of people who get together, going for dinner, having a night, having camaraderie, and that's for me is what AA is about. But also for me, it helped me get back to my own true self. You know, through the height of my addiction, I didn't know who I really was, and through the help and support of AA, I was able to get myself back on track. And it's for me as well, it's a continuous journey. It's not just, it's every day, it's keep it in the day. And you know, through my support and help, and I've been able to give back through service in AA, and that's, for me, it's most important.
In other words, John, you were just touching on there, we're in this together, you know, peer support, and you know, no person is an island, and we all help each other along.
Definitely, we do indeed. Because going into the first meeting I ever went to, which was down the road from here, off Dorset Street, very famous group called Gerrard Street, and I went to that first meeting, and I actually thought people were talking about me, because one of the things that a lot of members would say was a sense of identification, the sense of knowing that I wasn't on my own, the sense of knowing, you know, somebody else is going through what I'm going through as well, and I'm not on my own. You know, I can share my journey. I'm not going to be looked down on. I've done horrible things in my past, but I'm not going to be looked down on. You know, I'm still the same.
In the group, if I have a problem today, I can talk to someone about it and tell them how I'm getting on in life, and that's where recovery starts. The answer is in the group.
The power of the group is where the healing is.
The meetings are vitally important. It's so important to be around like-minded people.
In recovery, you're no longer alone. There is help there is support there, and it's getting involved in groups, taking part in groups.
It is just human beings coming together, supporting each other through a difficult time in their life, and there's something just really nice and rewarding about that.
I've been able to help other people work the steps, and that's what it's about. It's giving back from what I've got through my sobriety.
Thus far in the programme, we've heard various contributors discuss the 12-step recovery programme and why it's so effective in helping countless addicts to find recovery from addiction. Due to its proven track record, many addiction treatment centres use a 12-step recovery model, including Aiséirí Céim Eile Addiction Treatment Centre in Waterford City.
My name is Jerry Carroll, and I'm a manager of Aiséirí Céim Eile in Waterford. Aiséirí Céim Eile is one of the Aiséirí groups. Aiséirí have 4 addiction treatment centres in Ireland. Most of them are based in the southeast. Our services in Care, in County Tipperary, Wexford, Kilkenny and Ballyragget in Kilkenny, and Aiséirí Céim Eile in Waterford, which is a secondary treatment centre. Aiséirí is one of Ireland's oldest and most reputable addiction treatment services within the country. It is a 12-step Minnesota model based addiction treatment where we cater from detoxification to primary treatment, adolescent treatment and secondary treatment, sober living and a 2-year continuum of care program for those individuals who have difficulties with addiction to alcohol, drugs or gambling, and their families. A large part of our programs are supporting members of families as well.
So in other words, it's the full package. It's not just the individual, it's the family and the wider community, no doubt,
Absolutely.
Because addiction affects communities, not just the individuals.
Absolutely. We would see it very much as a provider of addiction treatment. We provide, from the very start of detoxification right through to sober living, the long-term picture, and that in Ireland would be unique. And, when a person is suffering from addictions, there are 10 other people automatically affected by their addiction. So really, it's okay for a client to go into treatment, but their family will need equal amount of support as well. And that's why, we have a 2-year aftercare continuum of care program where the family are involved and the spouse or partner attends as well, because it is a family illness and it needs to be a family recovery as well. By the time that somebody ends up on the doors of any of the Aiséirí centres, they're very broken, and addiction is controlling their lives. It's controlling their lives, it's controlling their loved ones' lives and their families. And it is all about the addiction. Their addiction controls their money, controls their life, their jobs. Everything is controlled by it, and it's almost that they become their addiction. But with the process of treatment and support, that we can start to pry apart the person and the addiction. And with the right skills and tools, we give people how to cope with the addiction piece, and not be just their addiction. They are not their addiction. They're far greater, much than that, but their addiction has taken over. So it's the process of recovery, is that you start to become yourself again. Where addiction isn't all you are. You are more than an addict. You are more than an alcoholic. You are a person who had difficulties, but you are in recovery. And that's a really, really, really important thing, is recovery from addiction is possible and is very possible. And we believe as an organisation that with the right support and the help, we will help you get back to being who you truly are. It does not have to rule your life.
And Jerry, I have one last question for you. There's probably people, who are tuned in who know somebody who's caught up in addiction, or maybe they're in the unfortunate scenario of being caught up in one themselves. Any advice to people out there in either of those scenarios?
Well, number one, to say that there is hope. It is not impossible. It can be done. But the first thing to acknowledge is that you can't do it on your own, and that you need the support of other people. Now, whether that be going to your GP, speaking to your GP, whether it be going to a local addiction counsellor. The HSE has some fantastic community-based addiction counsellors, and working with them. And in the situation where, longer term residential support is required, well, they will support you in that too. So the important thing is that there is help there. You can get it. But surrendering and having the humility to say, I can't do this on my own anymore, I need help. And it is like Aiséirí responds to people's plea for help.
And after talking with Jerry Carroll of Aiséirí Céim Eile in Waterford City, I next got talking with a client there.
My name is Donald. Well, my own story, basically, I started taking drugs very late in life. I'm 25 now. I started taking cocaine when I was 22, 23. At the time I was self-employed, things were going really well. I had a small child, my girlfriend was pregnant with her second child. And it gripped me very fast, for a guy that never touched drugs before that, and would have drank occasionally, I was the type of guy you'd have a not drink, special occasions, stuff like that, It just gripped me fast, it really did, it gripped me very, very fast. And I lost everything over it, lost my company, lost the house, lost everything, but there is hope coming back. lots of positivity, like, you know. Yeah.
Where did you find hope for yourself, Donald? Where did the recovery come for yourself?
Yeah, well, like, what happened to me was I phoned Aiséirí and Care in November 2017, and I went out for my assessment in December, and instantly, like, you know, when I came into the place, it was so welcoming and stuff like that, like, you know, and you were around people that understood what you were going through, like, and stuff like that, you know. So making that first call was the first move and the first positive move, you know, and ever since then it's just got better and better and better every week, you know.
And Donald, what would have been the kind of the things that really helped you in the recovery process?
So the major thing that helped me more than anything, obviously there's things, the 12 steps, the program that Aiséirí follow, and the program we do here in Céim Eile. But the biggest thing was just the faith that the counsellors show you here, like, you know. They show you so much faith, and you know, you start to like yourself again, you know, and that's all down to the people here and the staff here. And I'm talking about the staff, from the counsellors to the kitchen staff to the people who do classes with us, everything. They're gradually putting you back into society, like, you know, and they're showing that faith in you, you know. That's a big thing for me, it's the counsellors, and they really do care, like, you know. It's not a case of they're coming in just doing their job and stuff like that. They really do care, like, you know.
It's a vocation. I'd say there's no way you could do it otherwise, would it be right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, what's the normal daily routine from the time you get up in the morning, Donald, to the time you put down the head to rest at night?
Well, the normal routine inside the house is, like, it's you're up at 7:30 in the morning, you know. Breakfast is at 7:30 to 8. Like, for myself personally, I'm up out of bed at 7 o'clock in the morning, you know. After that, then you would have a group, say, on certain days. You would have other programs on during the day. You'd have your dinner at 5 o'clock. You know, you'd have a meeting, then you go to meeting up after that. You know, like, it's compulsory that you must do an X amount of meetings every week, four meetings every week. But you see, like, it's not a case of ticking boxes either, like, you know. You have to want to do it. Like, you have to engage in this program. You know, you really do have to put effort into this program. You know, I think the people that come to Céim Eile are the people that really, really want to change their lives around, you know. The program here it's a normal routine, it's a routine, and routine is vitally important. And in terms of, like, going to bed and stuff like that, I mean, there's a curfew of 12 o'clock here. Personally, myself, like, you know, like, I'm the type of person, I need to go to sleep, like, you know, so I'm in bed for 10:30, 11 o'clock and stuff like that, like, you know. But that's the normal routine here. The routine here is brilliant, and it does get you back into society gradually, like, you know, which I really like.
And Donald, what's the best thing about recovery from addiction for yourself?
The best thing about recovery from addiction is I have choices now. I have choices in life. I can make choices. When I was in addiction, I didn't have choices. People looked down on you. People didn't understand, you know. I didn't understand, and that's being totally honest. But now I have choices, you know. I wake up every morning. I have a routine. I have conversations with people. My family are back in my life. Physically, I feel good. Mentally, I feel great, you know. And that's a major aspect. Like, a lot of people, and what I'd say to listeners, a lot of people that have addiction problems or problems with alcohol or gambling, the head is melted, you know. It really, really is.
How bad?
I just, like, obviously outside the physical aspects, like I was saying, mentally you would be in a very bad place mentally, you know. And it, like it's when I always say it's a family disease. It's not just you; it's the whole family it's affecting. And when you start to get better, and you start to see how happy family members are and how happy you are yourself, you it's all worth it. It really is all worth it. But it's constantly improving, and, like, it's a program though. What I would say to people is that you really have to engage in it. You have to really, really want it. You have to really, really want it, you know.
And it's for life, really, isn't it? It's not just, you know, you come to the centre or whatever and that's it. You tick that box, that's it, it's finished. It's an attitude, it's for life, and the meetings for the rest of your life, would I be right, Donald?
So, like, I mean, it is a program for life. It definitely is a program for life. The meetings are vitally important. It's so important to be around like-minded people. But what I'd always say to people, like, you know, is that a large amount of percentage of it is actually behaviours as well. I mean, about 70% of it is actually your behaviour outside of the addiction. And that's why I came to Céim Eile, is because I want to change those behaviours, you know, and just how I treat people now, how I speak to people, how I act, and just my outlook and everything has changed. It's gone so positive, like, you know. Now there's some days it's not easy. There's some days not easy, but look, who doesn't have a bad day? You know, people do have bad days, people have good days. But going to AA, going to Céim Eile, going to Aiséirí, you're learning how to live with the bad days. You know, the bad days become bad hours or bad minutes. You know what I mean? And
you're in the driving seat, you're in control, you're writing the script in your own life.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it.
Just in the journey of recovery from dark to light, for want of a better description, Donal, I mean, how important is it to adopt new positive life patterns for yourself and your own experience?
So my own experience, like from adapting new ways, like, I mean, the big thing for me is a gym. I mean, the outside of the physical changes, you know, and how healthy you feel, it's when you meet people that would know you from months ago and know you in addiction, they'd say, Jesus, you look brilliant, you know, and but it's not even that, you'd feel brilliant. And like, I'm always going back to it, and the counsellors always say here as well, it's an inside job, and it's about how you feel, you know. Like, the changes are unbelievable. Even what I say to listeners, even like by making that phone call, and even just getting into the rooms and being around people that have the same problem as you, you'd be very surprised. A lot of people be scared, you know, thinking that, is it just me that has this problem? And it's not, like, you know, it really isn't. There's so many people out there, and, you know, there's not a family in Ireland that isn't affected by alcohol, drugs, or even a gambling problem, or any other addictive behaviours, you know. There's somebody in each family in around Ireland that is affected by it. And when you come into the rooms, you will see that, you know. Like, I mean, for people, what I'd say is just make a phone call. What's the worst can happen? If you feel like you have a problem with it, if it's affecting your family, if it's affecting the people around you, if it's affecting your behaviour, if it's affecting you going to work, anything like that, just make a phone call. Make a phone call. There's so much help out there.
There's hundreds, if not thousands, of different charities, centres, groups, fellowships that you can contact, and every one of them is there to help you. Never think that you're struggling on your own.
I'd advise anybody who is in addiction, don't be afraid to put your hand out for help.
It's there for anyone that wants it, you know, it's literally just make a phone call.
Just lift the phone, email, anything at all, just to make that first step. If you make the first step, the things that can change in your life is remarkable, you know.
The whole recovery living is just so much better than being in addiction.
Make that call, and after that you'll find everything will just fit into place.
Funded by the Broadcasting Authority of Ireland with the television licence fee.